Okay. Hi.
Mr. Schofield, I am from True Legal Media, an online publication that seeks to promote and motivate youth and the women so that they can also enjoy a better life. Can you introduce yourself to our readers?
Yes, absolutely. I'm Patrick Schofield. I founded an organization called Streetwise Artist Collective that brought together a whole group of what were craft people together into a formal organization, and through that created a long-term sustainable organization that significantly increased opportunities for the people that we worked with and built further skills for them within the organization.
Thank you. Streetwire Art Enterprise. What are you into really?
What are we into?
Yes.
Streetwise works mostly with the wire and bead craft. So if you think, when one person works alone, it's very difficult for them to break through into supplying to retail or maybe to export. What Streetwise did is we brought together a studio of over 50 artists who all work together, and through that can realize a whole bunch of opportunities.
Thank you. What prompted you to get into this endeavor?
Excuse me. I'm originally from Zimbabwe, and I've seen after independence in Zimbabwe how incredible the opportunities were in terms of craft to create long-term sustainable jobs for people who were very good as artists, but were significantly lacking in terms of ability to sell their products to a larger audience. Now, what we did at Streetwise is we said, how can we work with those artists by bringing together people who are also very good at sales and marketing, and people who are also good in terms of administration, legal, all of that kind of stuff. If we bring people together as an organization, then the opportunities for each individual person can be massively increased.
Thank you so much. What challenges do you face as an entrepreneur?
Challenges as an entrepreneur. You know, I would call myself, and we call Streetwise, a social entrepreneurial organization. So we look to both address social issues, but through sustainable business model. The result is that sometimes the decisions we make are difficult to maintain on an economic level. So our main challenges are ensuring that the organization is sustainable in the long term, that we can pay our bills. And as with any business, sometimes that proves difficult.
Okay. Before getting into creative industry, what were you doing?
Sure. I've always been involved in the creative industries. So from when I left university, I did a degree in what's called a degree of business science, Bachelor of Business Science. That gave me the business skills I needed to work in the creative industries on a sustainable basis. And what I looked at is I said, how can I use business principles to build opportunities within the creative industry spaces? Streetwise was an example of how to do that. I then took the lessons that we learned at Streetwise, and I've helped a whole bunch of other organizations get up and running as well. When you said, what are the major challenges to building a successful organization in the long term that we've seen? One of it, as you said, is cash flow. But the other is developing the skills and the skills and learnings required to run a business. And that's linking marketing to finance, to long-term strategy, to ensuring that actually you stay ahead of the game, constantly developing new products and new ideas, and recognizing that the market never stands still. So your good idea now is old and forgotten 2 years' time. So you constantly have to be looking at new ideas and ensuring that you're testing them in your market.
Thank you. Employment is almost a pandemic world over.
Sorry, say that again?
Employment is almost a pandemic world over.
Unemployment.
Yes, unemployment, yes. It's a pandemic world over. What is your advice to youth who are still growing, and what is your advice to them?
What would be my advice?
Yes.
Twofold. On the one side, if you want to work for another company, there's nothing wrong with that. There's, in many ways, we say that there are too many chiefs and too few Indians.
Okay.
And it's often a very, very good thing to do is learn your lessons while you're working with other people. So working with groups is a very good thing. But if you want to start something on your own, my advice to you would be to find a mentor. So find someone who is not some big wig in business, but someone who's 3 steps ahead of you. So maybe someone who started a business 3 years ago, or someone in the industry that you really respect. Ask them to be your mentor. That can make the difference. That can make all the difference between you being successful or failing, even if you have a fantastic idea. Remember, a good idea executed is often so much more effective than a brilliant idea not well executed.
Thank you. In your opinion, what should the government do to empower the youth?
To empower the youth, the government should work in a number of ways. One is the provision of funding for new ideas. But when I talk about funding, I don't mean straight grant funding. The danger of being given a grant is generally people. I have done it myself as well. When you're given money, you spend it inefficiently. It's very difficult to be efficient when you're given money. But when money is directly linked to outcomes, that makes a big difference. And that's where I think the whole system of mentorship begins to be quite exciting. Where if the government is able to link capital that is given to new entrepreneurs and people with new ideas to a mentorship process, that gets very exciting. Now, what I talk about there is a mentor can be someone who has a great business. So, for example, someone who builds houses. If the person who's building houses and has experience there is able to take on a new entrepreneur to work with them who has been given government support in one way or another, that is a way, in essence, that it becomes worthwhile for the mentor to support the new entrepreneur.
Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, maybe I can add something there.
Yeah, okay.
Another way that government can significantly provide opportunities for new entrepreneurs is through building incubators. Now, incubators themselves are mentorship areas in which new entrepreneurs are given the opportunity to work with people who already have the skills to create successful businesses. And the last thing I'd like to add there is it has already been shown in a number of African countries that one of the fastest ways to drive development is to provide cheap and widely accessible internet. Now, if you look at what's happened in Rwanda, if you look at what's happening in Nigeria, countries like that are providing very inexpensive internet, widely spread, and people are taking it upon themselves to grow their own businesses. It's a very simple way, and it's a very cost-effective way to drive development.
Thank you. What were your dreams at childhood?
What were my dreams as a child?
Yes.
I wanted to be a king.
And what happened now? Why are you not a king now?
Well, I decided being a king maybe wasn't such a nice idea because there's a lot of people who now tell me what you should be doing. But as I grew up, I began to realize that I liked working with people in the creative industries. So I love to see ideas being realized. Someone has an idea in their head, and in 6 months' time, it happens. Not to work with people in that process, to me, is fantastic.
Thank you. Who inspired you or motivated you into this streetwire enterprise?
A couple of people. One was I had an incredible history teacher at school, a man called Robin Cox. I went to a private school in South Africa, and he spoke about history as a place that allowed you to learn in a way that would allow you to live a better life going forward. So he really focused on using history to teach you lessons about living today. And he did it in a way where he said, but one opinion does not the truth make. Ask 5 people their different opinions, and from that you will build the truth of what actually is happening. So when I was at school, it was still under the apartheid government. He showed us and gave us documents from all the different perspectives, from the Nationalist Party, from the ANC, from other independent sources outside of our own country. And from that, we were able to understand history from a much wider and broader perspective. That taught me so much about what the world I would like to be part of. And he introduced the idea to me that we can make the world as we would like it, and don't wait for somebody else to do it. We can do it ourselves.
Okay. What would you say to a young South African who is at a crossroads regarding the choice of a career path?
I would say South Africa is a land of opportunities, but we should not wait for somebody else to give us the opportunity. It's up to us to make those opportunities happen. So often you see so many people saying, I deserve this, or I am entitled to this happening. The problem with that is that people spend their lives saying they deserve this, or they should have this, instead of saying, hang on, I can make this happen. And when you look at the really successful people in life, whether it is someone who's fighting for a government tender, or whether it is someone who's fighting to start their own business, the people who make things happen are those who say, I'm going to make it happen. So if the government tender needs to go in, they make sure it happens. If the business opportunities are there, they make sure they take it on. So it really is about not waiting, but getting on and doing.
Okay. What is one thing you think a young South African can emulate from you? What legacy do you think you are leaving in South Africa?
Quite simply, don't be scared to try. So I have 6 different businesses that I've started that have done well. I have maybe 50 ideas in my head that never became successful. Things that I started with and got excited about, maybe they only stayed in an idea stage. Other things that I spent 6 months working on and never happened. What you could say is there's a whole bunch of failures that have happened. But I would say each of those failures are lessons learned. So my legacy I could pass on to other people starting up new businesses is, don't be scared to fail, because each of those is you've tried, and through that you've proved that was not the way to go, but there's another way to go. And that is, if you look at Richard Branson, if you look at the big entrepreneurs in the world, if you look at how many times they got things wrong. Steve Jobs was kicked out of Apple. He came back and he made it 10 times better. And I think if Steve Jobs had not left Apple, he would never have become the successful man he was. He learned that by sometimes failing, you learn those lessons about how to make sure that you don't do it again.
Thank you. What is success? And have you achieved success?
I've been successful in some ways, and I have not achieved what I wanted to in other areas. So it's yes and no.
Okay. But then what do you think success is?
What is success? Success to me means being satisfied with what you've done. So sometimes literally just writing that single document and sending it to a person you said you would send it to, that's success. Holding one event, launching a single range, taking an idea from your head and speaking to people about it at a pitching event. Each of those individual events can be translated into success. I think it's very dangerous to say, am I successful? In some ways, yes. In other words, no.
Thank you so much. Are you married, and do your family support your activities?
I'm married, and yes, they most definitely do. They said behind every successful man is a much more successful woman. I would say sometimes behind every successful woman is a reasonably successful man.
Okay. Thank you so much. That's the end of our
That's it.
interview. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks so much.
I think you'll get